and they can pick up little movements, whereas we not miss a little movement here and there. But that's why we always have to be real slow around them, and when you get to hold Dash here in just a little bit, because you guys have booked a VIP, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're
She's
getting to hold
definitely
Dash.
all excited about it.
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, which one do you hold them?
Yes.
Because y'all have the only one that I've seen in the South at all.
Yeah. There's a couple others, I think. No, I don't think you can hold the one in North Georgia. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot of the ones that are holding, because like I said, that is a very unusual behavior for sloths. And there's only one breeder that I know of in the United States that raises ambassador sloths to be able to be held. So naturally, sloths are very easily stressed animals. And so even though Flash has been born and raised in captivity and around people his whole life, and he's comfortable with being hand-fed his food, and occasionally a real nice slow pet down his back with the grain of his hair, he would be very uncomfortable with being held. If we tried to take him down off of that branch and hold him like we do Zoe or Dash, it would go very differently. He would not be comfortable with that whatsoever. And so that would be totally his decision if he ever climbs onto any of us, but he never has, and I don't think he ever will. But with...
He's just quite content though.
Yes, exactly, yeah. But with Dash and Zoe, like I said, they're very routine animals, and so from a very young age, before they were even weaned from their mothers, they're still on their mother's backs. The breeders started making it their routine every day that they would go in there and hold that baby for just like 10 or 15 seconds, then maybe the next time 15, 20 seconds, slowly work them up just a little bit more and a little bit more. And Mom was born and raised in that program too, so she's actually clicker trained to know that when she hears that clicker noise, the breeder's gonna come up, borrow her baby, give her a treat, and then give the baby right back. And so it's always a positive interaction that the baby and the mother is having with people, so it's always something that they're just comfortable with. And they do that 2 or 3 times a day. They keep on a strict schedule to keep it routine for them. And then after that baby's weaned, by around 5 months old, then that baby's used to being held by the breeder for up to an hour a day, and it's completely fine with that. So then once they come here, they're already conditioned to, enjoy being held by people. And
You're just not interested in these at all.
Nope, I don't want them.
Can't even trick you with it, huh? It is strictly sweet potato day.
Yeah, it is. Sometimes we may be able to break out the green beans here in a second. He likes green beans sometimes. Usually the green beans are a winner. But yeah, so like I said, just to be able to hold a sloth like that is very unusual, so that's why a lot of places don't do it. The only other place that you really see where you're actually able to hold a sloth is down in places like Central and South America where they're native to. Now, unfortunately, the whole reason why we have sloths here and we have holding sloths that people can actually hold and interact with and get their sloth fix here is so that they'll get enough information about the sloths that live in the wild to not go down there and feel like they have to hold one of those sloths, because it is very, very, very detrimental to the entire ecosystem that they have on their back. If it's a wild sloth, obviously it's the same, genetically they're still sloths, but you don't see any moss or algae or fungus on his back. He has no bugs or moths living throughout his fur because he was born and raised in captivity, and we keep him in a controlled environment where it's always 78 degrees here. But in the rainforest, where temperature is always fluctuating, they need that whole ecosystem that they have on their backs to, one, be able to camouflage into the canopy of the rainforest, but two, they use that whole ecosystem that they have on their back to be able to actually digest their food. And so if it's messed up, if the moth population that they have living on their back is disturbed, even just by a few pets, by a person, if it's enough to mess it up, then that sloth could pass from starvation, just not able to digest anything. They could continue to be eating, they just won't be able to digest any of their food. Because they don't use an process like we do, it's a bacterial process. And they're not born with that bacteria. They have to get it. They need that bacteria to be able to digest their food. They're not born with it. They have to get that from the moths that are living on their backs for a wild sloth. Now, captive sloths do it a little bit differently. They actually get that bacteria from their mothers around day 3, and then once they establish that, they'll keep it here in captivity because we keep it in a controlled environment. But the whole idea behind having sloths here that you can hold and interact with is that people will come and, be able to interact with a sloth that has been bred for this in an appropriate situation, rather than going down, get off a cruise ship and being met with this really cute, adorable little sloth that somebody wants you to hold and pay you, $20 for. And, unknowingly, a lot of people will just interact with that. They'll hold the sloth and they're not thinking too much about it. And unfortunately, those sloths have a life expectancy of about 2.5 weeks after an event like that. Because usually the people will use that sloth over and over and over and over and over again all throughout the day. And sloths are very slow animals because they have to be. They don't have a whole lot of energy reserves because they eat a really low calorie diet. So after they've expended all of that energy for the first, couple, hour or two trying to get away, they use up all that energy and then they don't have anything more to do. So they just kind of lay there. So that's what happens a lot of times down there. Now the Conservancy Agency has been doing a really good job recently of shutting down a lot of the places that have been doing that and enforcing more rules and regulations against holding sloths. And now there's more sanctuaries where you can just go, you can see the sloths and get, a whole sloth talk and everything, or go on a tour through the rainforest and see them in the wild. Those type of things are completely fine, but it's where you get to, touching them and handling them when they're down there, that's really kind of a gray area, because a lot of those sloths don't make it for very long. And obviously, a lot of people don't know that, because if they did, they wouldn't be supporting anything like that.
Well, I'm an animal person, I'm human. It's disgusting me, but whatever. Most people who like animals feel the same way, but it's.
Well, and for the native, those people aren't looking out for the sloth's well-being. They're just seeing that as a way to make money because they know that people are obsessed with sloths. And so they know that if they go and find one the day before a cruise ship boards, that they'll get paid money for people to hold it. Yeah.
Where's Peter when you need him?
Yeah, for real. I don't know that there's that many PETA agencies down there.
You could try to ease.
Get some green beans out, see if it'll be interesting.
He's like,
No,
no.
just turned
I
your
am
little
not."
head to that. You should know.
He definitely is like, nope, nope, nope.
You wait on the green beans, or you can see it once that,
He's like, man.
Getting full, buddy.
Yeah, I
You got,
think,
nope, nope, that one either.
Green bean might win him over.
You want a green bean? See if you want a green bean. You say no to that too? Okay. You say no? I'm
And
fine.
that's kind of a cool thing about sloths is that their digestive system takes them like 30 days to digest everything in it from start to finish. And because it's so slow and they only have that one-way valve that goes into their stomach but not back out, as soon as their stomach or their digestive system starts to tell them, hey, I'm getting kind of full, they completely shut off the want to eat, and they will keep that shut off until their system tells them again to start eating. So sometimes he takes a lot of little mini breaks in between. And we'll just have to see
I
if
don't
he.
want to curl him.
And he's like,
He's like, nope.
he turned his head around, he's like, no more, good at the moment.
I have his the window closed right now, but sometimes if I have that blind open, he likes to look out through the door like that. And some scientists actually speculate that when they're hanging upside down like that and their head is upside down, that's actually their way of seeing right side up. And it makes sense because everything else that's inside of their body is geared to be an upside down animal.
And they spend so much time hanging upside down to begin with.
Yeah. Whereas for us, we're built to be upright creatures, our head at the top and our feet at the lowest point. And if we were to, raise a hand up like this for 5 or 6 minutes, all the blood's gonna start rushing down and pull to my shoulder, my hand's gonna fall asleep. Or if I did a handstand, the blood's gonna be rushing to my head and my feet are gonna fall asleep. But for a sloth, they're built to be able to get into several different types of positions. There's a little armadillo that's in there, he likes to scurry around.
I was like, I'm hearing someone at the door.
Yeah, he likes to dig at the door sometimes, but he's the star of the show, so he steals everybody's hearts, and whenever I bring him out, I'll show you guys here in just a minute. But, yeah, so.
He knows what time it is, that's
Yeah.
why.
The sloths can turn to where they're just holding on by their back feet. They'll be inverted all the way down where their head's down low. Like I said, they'll grab a branch and pull it up and they'll pluck it like that. They conserve a lot of energy doing that instead of having to move all the way down to that branch. And then they can hold on, when they go to the bathroom, they don't ever go to the bathroom up the tops of the trees. They go down to the base of the tree to do so. And when we're holding the sloth, you know, the head's up at the highest point, their arms are wrapped around us like this. So that's the unnatural position for a sloth. They're used to be like that. But their circulatory system can adapt and change to whatever position that they're put into, so that they always are getting blood flow everywhere, and that their blood's not gonna, you know, pull to their head while they're upside down like that. So it's really impressive. But everything else that's inside of a sloth is meant to be upside down too, so the locking mechanisms that they have in their claws are like opposite to ours, whereas this is our relaxed state. You know, when I pass away, my hands are gonna stay like this. I'm not gonna tense up all of a sudden. And it's the same for them. This is their relaxed state. This is their stress state. So it takes more energy to actually open up that claw than it does to hold onto the branch. And for that reason, if a sloth were to pass away holding onto the branch of a tree, they would continue to hold there until something either rotted or knocked them off of that branch. Because when they pass, they're not all of a sudden going to tense up and straighten up their claws. So they continue to hang there. So a lot of times you'll see kind of half skeletons of sloths hanging in a tree because they stay there for a while.
I just don't look comfortable at all.
It doesn't. It wouldn't
Think
be
of
for
for a
us.
human, yeah, for a human.
Yeah, you just kind of like,
And you can see
He's
when
just
he's all the
tired.
way relaxed down that he can curve his spine a lot when he's relaxed all the way. You can see kind of on the back there towards his butt, the hair will grow down the opposite way, and then from his head it grows down, so the hair kind of meets in the middle.
yeah, because even on the stomach, like it's
Uh-huh.
going down. Like,
Exactly. And unlike any other animal, their hair actually parts in the middle of their stomach and goes down their sides. You know, a dog or a cat, their hair parts down the middle of their back and will go down.
Hey, big guy. You want to see if you want this?
What do you think, buddy?
He's like,
Now look at that.
he's like, okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, usually green beans when they wonder.
Yeah, he started rotating his head around a little bit, so it's like green bean try.
He's being extra lazy this morning because this usually, like I said, they're very routine animals, and he is so routine driven that with this one branch that he comes out here to do his encounters on, I have never actually seen him eat on that side of the branch. He always eats on this side of the branch, and he'll go to that side to like rest and take a minute to himself and just kind of decompress for a minute, or he'll scratch himself on that side of the branch. He'll be like in the middle of eating over here, go to the end of the branch, scratch himself for a minute or two, and then come back and start eating again. So for him to be over there and eating, I'm surprised that he's doing that, because usually he doesn't. He must not feel like moving around too much this morning.
He's like, whatever. It's
Today
too
feels
early
like a
for this.
Monday.
Yeah.
You want another one?
Give me a minute.
It's like you're debating. It's like you really was who's kind of like, I want it.
But believe it or not, sloths actually are able to withstand a fall from up to 100 feet in the air and be completely unharmed. They do, on average, fall out of the trees that they're living in the wild about once a week. And that's not because they get tired of holding on, because like I said, this is their relaxed state. It's actually because their eyesight is so poor. Sometimes when they're startled or they're trying to get away from something, they're not too focused on what they're grabbing hold of, they're just trying to skedaddle. They'll grab their own leg and then go falling down. That does happen sometimes. Another common thing that will happen is that if it is a jaguar or an ocelot that has startled them, and they've gone out to the end of the branch to get away from that cat, and say that cat is daring enough to go out to the end of the branch after the sloth, that branch may be able to withstand a 10, 15 pound sloth, but probably not a 35, 40 pound cat. So if it goes out to the end of the branch, they're both probably going to be going to the ground. But for the sloth, they can withstand that fall, and they're going to be completely fine. Whereas the cat's probably not. So the cat's probably going to break all four legs, trying to land on all four of them. Whereas the sloth, when they fall, all four limbs go straight out, and they kind of fall like a pancake. They've got a total of 46 ribs. It's 2 sets of 23. And so with all of those ribs, it's kind of like a protective casing for all of their internal organs. And they've also got a lot of connective tissue on the inside of their abdominal cavity that holds all of their organs where they're supposed to be. So when they smack the floor, their rib cage will kind of flex under their body weight, but they don't really sustain any broken bones because they're so flexible. And then the connective tissue that's holding all of their organs where they're supposed to be doesn't really allow for them to get any type of internal damage. So So it just works out for them, and they can just go right back up the tree where they came from. Granted, it may take them a few hours to get back up there, but after they do, they're completely fine.
We did the little kangaroo before this, and I think it was Rachel, she kept trying to jump on that pouch, and I was gonna be like a cow, I just knew she was gonna be that concrete.
Yeah, the Phoebe was the smallest one. Yeah. She's sitting in about, she's just like, I'm good. Chilling
Yeah.
out. It's like,
Yeah, Rachel's just about to the point where she's about to start to go out with Ruby and Max, and she's getting anxious to be leaving that pouch more and more. Whereas Phoebe is content staying there all day. If you take her out of the pouch and she's hopping around, you have to lay the pouch on the floor so she can't get back into it. Otherwise, if it's hanging up on a doorknob or something, she's like trying to get herself back in there.
it's like, time to get out of the pouch and see the world.
Tell us when they quit feeding them.
No, you can, yeah, any of that's his. They, like I said, since their system will just tell them when to stop, they have no problem with turning away food once they're done. So it's not like we worry about overfeeding them, you just leave it.
Just leave it on the ground there.
Or just set it right here so we don't confuse it with the clean food. He does, he makes a mess a lot of times, I have to clean up after him every time after an encounter, because there's food all over the floor.
He said, nope, he turned his head, he don't.
Or is it that you're, like, now you had green beans, you're like, I don't want the other stuff.
Oh, maybe so.
Thank you. Look what I got.
No,
Nope.
you don't want it.
I think he might be done.
Finished up.
You shine done, no more.
It's
One more
almost
try.
time to switch over.
Let's see that last one that he hasn't got yet. Nope. No to all three. He's like, I'm done.
He's not like them little Highland baby cows, and things
No.
that kept eating and
Oh,
eating and eating.
Yeah, cows and horses, they both can get like an overeater's disease, because if they get out and they get into a bag of food or something, they will eat themselves to death. But a sloth would not do that. You can offer them any of the food in the world, that they, even bananas, any type of fruits like that that they really enjoy, they would never eat themselves. They may gorge themselves a little bit on bananas because they really do like those, but they wouldn't to the extent that a cow or a horse would do.
Yeah, those guys, as soon as they see the bottles, they're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and they're just like all over, like,
Oh, yeah.
we love it. They didn't waste no time in draining those
Yeah.
bottles
Oh,
either.
yeah.
It's like, jeez,
Yeah.
these little piggies.
I think there's a couple other people that are gonna, what we usually do is that we switch out, and you guys are gonna hold, a sloth now, and then I think there's another people that are gonna come in and spend some time with Flash. And so we will go into actually Flash's enclosure to do the next encounter with the woolly sloth. But the other people are gonna come in here and finish feeding Flash.
If he's gonna eat it.
Yeah, and he may not be one to eat, so I'm actually gonna get this prepared for him with some of these supplements in it, because he does like his supplements. And so.
I'll load him, he's like, I might want them now. What is it anymore now?
Well, they would quit feeding them, somebody else is gonna come feed them.
That's
No,
all right.
you don't
That,
want it.
he's like, yeah, I'm good.
He smells this rice cooking is what it is, and he really likes this rice mixture. Probably what it is.
He's like, I had the appetizer, I'm ready for the main course.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
And they do the bathroom one day a week.
Yep, once a week, about every 7 to 10 days.
So,
And it's not because they hold it all week long, it's just because their system is so slow, that they only really have to go once a week. And, when they do, they go down to the base of the floor to go to the bathroom, which it would make a lot more sense